A very good morning to you. Thank you for joining us on Your World. Children all around Kenya rely on water from unsafe sources. Colgate is asking you to help change this. Just a little water can make a big difference. For every pack of Colgate you buy exclusively at Naivas, you help build 30 water wells that will provide clean water for 120,000 Kenyans. Giving a helping hand, shop at your nearest Naivas store or online at naivas.co.ke. For more information about the campaign, go to Colgate Kenya's Facebook page or wellboring/colgate.com. Terms and conditions apply. All right, let me welcome my panelists and the topic of conversation this morning. Mike, who is my director, if you will, can put up the poster on the screen. And with me in studio, we have Regina Midhamo, head teacher and speech and language therapist. We also have in studio Father James Njoroge, Deputy Director, Disability and Spirituality, and Richard Manyara, Project Manager, Orion Community Training Center. And I'll start with you, Regina. When we talk about intellectual disability, what is the spectrum? Can you tell us from this to this?
Okay, thank you so much. And thank you for having us. When we speak about intellectual disability, it's broad. It covers a variety of conditions which we work with at the institution at Orion Community Training Center. Here we have children and youth who are diagnosed with cerebral palsy, those who are diagnosed with Down syndrome, those who are diagnosed with intellectual challenge, and those who are diagnosed with autism spectrum disorder. So it's wide under the same umbrella of intellectual disability.
Intellectual disability. Is this children who need extra care, learning disability perhaps?
Yeah, sure. Children under the umbrella intellectual disability have different needs and require different interventions. For them, they need education, they need rehabilitation services, and they also need a skill and the vocation training. For us as an institution at Orion Community Training Center, we use holistic approach when we are dealing with these children.
That's quite broad. I mean, so a child who has cerebral palsy, what kind of, what are the symptoms?
Okay, so for instance, a child who's diagnosed with cerebral palsy, one of the key things, the child will display characteristics of delayed developmental milestones in terms of mobility, in terms of activities of daily living, acquiring activities of daily living, in terms of cognitive skills. So for them, they need different intervention.
And why I ask that is because if it's such a broad spectrum, are you able then to meet the needs of that child and the child perhaps who is on the autism spectrum? And this question I'm directing to Richard.
Yes. So thank you once again for the opportunity to discuss about this really complex and diverse topic of mental conditions and syndromes, or rather intellectual disabilities. Yes, as my colleague has said, we really use a holistic approach, and the conditions are diverse across a spectrum. But then the approach that we do is really individualized, whereby we try to meet the child's need at an individual level. And in this situation, we have really to involve the caregiver, the parents, the professional, the community, the society, so that we can all holistically intervene for this kid. Because as we've said before, mental conditions and syndromes really makes the child or the person more vulnerable. Actually, they're designated as the most vulnerable people or the most vulnerable persons in our society, because these conditions are affecting a part of their brain that is really about cognitive development. So this makes them more vulnerable, and we need to come holistically and try to answer to the needs that they individually have.
All right.
Yeah.
Father, raising a child alone, you know, a child who does not suffer from intellectual disability is difficult enough. So how much harder is it when you are faced with a child who suffers from intellectual disability? What is it like at the community level?
At the community level, first of all, thank you for giving us this platform to explore this broad topic of our children. And at the community level, sometimes it's very difficult, first of all, to accept that we have these people in the society. And it becomes more difficult for a parent to accept that it is not a curse, it is not something that he has done wrong. And from the community, from down in the families, we try to explain to the people they have not done anything wrong. The child is part of us, is part of our community, and it is upon all of us, as a family, as a community, as intellectuals, to deal with or to safeguard these people, to give them their rights, to give them what they need, and also to speak on their behalf. Yes.
All right. I mean, because the cultural belief systems, like you mentioned, and then, you know, especially worse if the parents are struggling financially, then how do you meet the special needs, because we call them special needs, children, right? How do you counter that type of thinking? I imagine it's hard to break.
Yeah, it's hard to break, but we do it in a process, involving all what we can, so that we can be a good team, so that we can accept the reality. Because I remember when we started this Orion training, it is out of visiting the families, and you see how those children are staying, how those youth have been neglected, how they have been abandoned. So it has taken us some time, a process, that even you can see people want to be associated with them. But it is still a process, it's still a journey that we have to make. And also, like, this platform is also helping us to reach those people who have been abandoned, because we have not still reached to them. We have maybe a very little percentage that we have reached, but through this platform we can also be able to
raising awareness.
Yes, raising awareness.
Yeah,
yes.
Because I mean, I've seen videos of where children, adults are chained because they're difficult to manage. Maybe the parent has other things to do, and so it makes this but it's inhumane, essentially, right? Is it possible, and Regina, for such children, although it's very broad, to function at some level in normal society with the right training and the proper care?
Yeah, thank you so much for that. Through the experience, we've worked with them, and what I would really wish to emphasize first is early intervention. Early intervention works. Where the intervention is taken early, during the early years, it's easier for these children to attain the delayed milestone, to attain whatever they've not been able to attain. But again, sometimes due to lack of awareness outside there of some of the services that are there to assist these children. So yeah, we receive some when the age has already progressed, but with the right help, with the right skills, with the right intervention, they do. In fact, they are very good at acquiring skills if it's introduced in the right way and at the right time. Yes, they can function.
Okay.
Yes.
Richard, how do you determine? Because, I mean, how do you determine that, okay, maybe for something like cerebral palsy would have been determined early by a medical professional, but things like autism, right, like you mentioned a spectrum. How do you make the determination that this is where they're at?
Yeah, thank you. So we work within a network of professional healthcare providers, psychologists, psychiatrists. And like as my colleague has said, it's always best when it's done early. Well, unfortunately, as a society and as a country, we are not yet at that level where we can really say we are doing it in the best way, but we are trying. So for us, first, we try to really make the reality visible. So we do a lot of outreach campaigns. We call out on parents in Masai Land, in Siaya, in Kajiado County, to do workshops, community sensitization programs, and in these practical workshops, we just share the basic practical situations that we've come across. I mean, we are in over 33 countries across the world. Here in Kenya, we have an experience of over 10 years. So we've been able to come across a number of children with a number of conditions. So with these sort of practical workshops supported by, again, healthcare providers, they are able to actually diagnose, like a psychiatrist will tell us, this is the situation. Then we send them over to government offices, educational offices, and they do the assessment. We send them to Kenya Institute of Special Education. They also do an assessment. Then for us, once we have been advised by the external professionals that they can be placed in our institution, that's when now we come up with an individualized plan where we can intervene according to the situation that we've been shared with. And it's been a process, and like my colleague has said, they develop, they progress in their life. We have a lot of success stories. After 9-10 years of experience here in Kenya, we have a group of 16 youth currently working, integrated and included in the society, doing their own farming projects, because we are working in education, rehabilitation, and training in farming. So we have very beautiful stories where the community now can see that those that we thought were useless or abandoned or left behind can also contribute. And that's why we are really grateful for this opportunity, because we want to amplify their voice. We want to advocate for them. We want to do more safeguarding, because for us, we understand safeguarding as making visible the reality of children and youth with intellectual disabilities.
Yeah, because I wanted to ask, what is this, when you say safeguarding, what is safeguarding?
Safeguarding for us is really essentially to mean we want to protect. We don't want to make a special or a unique bubble of comfort for our beneficiaries. No. We want them to feel part and parcel of our community. That is the first level for us as safeguarding, to make them visible. Because in all our experience, we all know, I know someone who has a child with an intellectual disability or a disability. So, but they are hidden. So the first step for us to do as safeguarding is to make this reality visible. Because when we see them, we cannot continue being ignorant. We cannot just say they don't exist. They exist, they are with us. So once we've made them visible, now we ask the question, what can we do? Because everybody can do something in their own capacity. Everybody can be kind. Everybody can show dignity, can show respect, can show love, can show care. This is safeguarding. Then we also need to break down the physical barriers that would otherwise put them at risk. If the child is left at home, we don't want to entirely blame the family, because there's something happening there that we need to talk about. We don't want to blame the government. There's something there that we need to talk about. And we also don't want to say or blame ourselves, or we say we have the answer. So it is a journey. Safeguarding for us is a journey that we need to walk together, especially as a Kenyan society. Because again, in this journey, 70% of what we've been able to achieve is coming from outside this country, outside our country borders. It's coming from foreign investment, foreign donations. So it's time now for us as a Kenyan society to say, let's do the safeguarding. Let's walk the journey with those who are most vulnerable amongst us.
Father, this is a subject on which we don't talk much, or unless it happens to you, then you educate yourself then as a matter of necessity. But when Richard was talking and he said, we hide them. If your child suffers from an intellectual disability, you tend, is it a matter of shielding them from a harsh world that does not understand, or is it a question of shame in your experience dealing with families that have been affected?
Yes, sometimes it becomes because people are fearing what will be the reaction of the people. Because I remember when we started this community training, we started in Moranga year 2005, and now here we are 8 years in Kajiado. When we started, people are coming to the fence to see what is really Father or the church is doing with these children who are not even able to do anything. But as time goes, they came to accept them. They saw that, yes, these people, they can plant something and it grows. These people can wash their clothes. These people can do things by themselves, just with minimal supervision. And slowly by slowly, you see that those people who are coming to check what we are doing with them in the fence, now they come close to them. They can come with a piece of banana or some fruits to share with them. And you see that they are happy. The face is changing of the children and also of the society. Yes, because they are part of us. Right. Yeah. And by hiding them, that is why in the beginning I was saying we are their voice. Unless we put them to the right, or we put them to the whole one to see them, or we realize their needs, it can be difficult. But as my fellow they are saying, it is a process, it is a journey, but together as a church, as a country, as a society, we are able to do it.
All right.
Yes.
You know, they say we fear things we don't understand. And Richard, which is why I want to ask you to come in at this point. Tell us a little bit about the projects you undertake, because you've mentioned Kajiado and Moranga.
Yes. Yeah.
All right. Thank you. So here, well, our center is a day center first. We are serving a population of over 100 children between the ages of 3 and 18 years, providing them with special education, rehabilitation, which is physical therapy, occupational therapy, and speech therapy. We also have the farming project, and also we have a program that is community involvement and participation. And it is in the fourth pillar that I would really want to emphasize, because it's the one that has really helped us amplify our disability awareness outreach.
So this is the community involvement
and participation.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, because we realize for us, as our experience, when we come in to talk about matters to do with disability, it has to be disability and something else. There's been a lot of promise, a lot of false hope being given to our people. So people don't, if they come, when you have a workshop about disability, what else? Because as you know, Kenya has the best laws in matters disability. We have all the offices you can think of in this country. So for us, we want to give another alternative answer, where through this fourth pillar, we are intervening in community relief, food relief projects in Masai Land. We've been hit by the worst drought in 40 years, but we've been doing a feeding program for over 400 children down in Elerai, Rombo, where we also have a farming project. And just through that initiative, for instance, we are able to see the local community of the Ma people come out with their children, come in to look for casual labor, come in to see the farming project, come in to send their children to school. And in that way, through that farming project, through the food relief, we are doing the safeguarding. In Siaya, we recently moved there 1 year ago. The mission opened another outreach there. We are working with the sand harvesters down at River Nzoia. And we know the risk that poses to the environment. But then we don't want to come in and tell you, no, this is an environmental degradation. But we want to show you an alternative that we can do kitchen garden farming and move you away from the sand harvesting and protect our environment. That is also safeguarding the children that are in that community. So through these societal or community intervention projects, we are able to advocate and be a voice for children with intellectual disabilities. And perhaps we are emphasizing on that, intellectual disabilities or mental conditions and syndromes. Because also from our experience, we have realized even in the spectrum of persons with disability, children or persons with mental conditions and syndromes are lower in the pecking order. Their voice is really suppressed. So through these 4 arms of our job, we are able now to advocate for them. And now we want to do more. We want to do another expansion of our outreach. That is why now we've come up with this theme after 8 years in Kajiado, we are seeking a way to raise more funds so that we can move out to more communities and just share our experience. You don't want to say do it as we do, but we're just saying come, see, learn, do it in your own reality. So this is how we work, and we do this through funding grant proposals to different donors, but mainly international outside this country. Now we want to come back here to localize our initiatives.
Yeah, because I was going to ask you, is it a private facility? You know, do I pay to bring my child? We'll get into all of that on the other side of this break. But first, Kenya, what if we told you that our smile can help those next to you? Colgate is helping to provide clean drinking water so that children can have a bright future by staying in school. For every pack of Colgate that you buy at your nearest Naivas store over the next 2 months, you are helping build 30 water wells that will provide clean water for 120,000 people. Now, that's something to smile about. Visit the Colgate Kenya Facebook page or visit the website on wellboring.colgate.com for more information. Terms and conditions apply.
Is looking at you. He's seeing a millionaire. He's seeing a president. He's seeing a businessman.
Join us for a mega supernatural restoration crusade at the Tononoka grounds from 20th to 23rd July starting 2 p.m.
As a mother, I have to do my duties in the house. It forces me to send her to the river because I have no alternative.
Piaora ok ber, ler bedo ok ler. Otuo nikech piaora. Otuo ok odhi skul, japuonj chunye chandore.
If children had water close by, they won't be sick, they won't be distracted because the water is clean.
The Nuclear Power and Energy Agency, NUPEA, is a state corporation under the Ministry of Energy mandated with the development of nuclear power program for electricity generation in Kenya, carrying out research and development of energy technologies and capacity building for the energy sector. To this end, NUPEA coordinates all relevant nuclear infrastructure in the country. For more information, log on to our website and follow us on our social media handles.
Nitaongeza, utatenda miujiza. Mungu wewe, ni egemeo langu. Ni wewe tu, ni wewe tu. Nakutazamia Baba. Ni wewe tu, ni wewe tu. Nakutegemea Baba. Ni wewe tu.
To get Nakutazamia as your skiza tune, dial star 811 star 926 hash.
Skiza na Nation.
Have you found your purpose yet?
Well, catch the conversation this Sunday as we discuss matters of resilience and finding purpose.
Joining us in studio will be the legendary BMF. Boss Emoji. And of course, music from yours truly, Son of Nations.
Save the date and let's meet this Sunday from 11:30 to 1 p.m. only on NTV.
Baba, we only team is
Blueband peanut butter, made with 100% pure peanuts and a good source of omega-6. Grow healthy and happy kids with Blueband peanut butter. Available in 200 grams, 400 grams, and 800 grams. Buy a pack today.
You are watching Your World in association with Colgate.
When a child has to help their family fetch water, there's no such thing as a day off. You can help change that. Colgate is asking you to help support the future of our country, our children. Just like clean water, every little drop makes a difference. For every pack of Colgate you buy at your nearest Naivas store, you're helping to build 30 water wells that will provide clean water to 120,000 Kenyans. You can make a larger impact and help to reach more Kenyans by donating via M-Pesa. Visit the Colgate Kenya Facebook page or wellboring.colgate.com website for more information. Terms and conditions apply. All right, in studio, we are discussing safeguarding children with intellectual disability. And with me in studio, we have Regina Midamo. She is head teacher, speech and language therapist. We have Father James Njoroge, and he is deputy director, disability and spirituality. And Richard Manyara, he is projects manager, Orione Community Training Center. And they were telling me Orione is Italian. Was a priest?
Yeah, Italian priest is our founder. Is a congregation, a Catholic religious congregation. Orione is a priest from Italy. He's the one who started this congregation of ours, and he had a motto which says, do good always, do good to all, harm no one. That is why we venture also in the disability.
Just repeat that so I can write it down. Do good?
Do good always. Do good to all. Harm no one.
Do good always. Do good to all. Harm no one. That's one to live by.
Yeah.
But Richard, perhaps you can tell us a little bit about the Orione Training Center. You said you've been doing this work for 10 years. Is it, a private facility that is only accessible to the well-to-do? Is it?
Well, like our deputy director said, it's an institution under the Catholic congregation. But this is not to mean that it's a closed institution. Actually, we are registered under the Ministry of Education as a private special school that is also offering the rehabilitation services and training in life skills. So this institution is open and accessible to all that are able to come as far as they have been assessed through the process that I mentioned earlier and have been recommended for placement at our institution. We are mainly, it's really a model of charity and not profit making, because as we were sharing off camera is that unfortunately our society perceives education as an investment, and with the question that what will you report after you've been taken through an education process. So unfortunately this is the concept that limits most of our beneficiaries and their families. In addition to them coming from very poor and humble family backgrounds, this mentality also comes in to affect their capacity to contribute even with the 30% of the entire school fees that we require for a term. It's really expensive. The program is holistic with 4 areas. Professionals like my colleague Regina, speech therapist, they're very scarce and expensive, and rehabilitation is also very expensive with the equipment and all. So it's really a gap, but that's how we try to operate. We try to appeal to the human dignity, the human respect of our donors, and to see really who can come in and see the potential that our beneficiaries have.
Okay, so you rely heavily on the goodwill of
Yes.
people. Regina, how many children do you currently work with? Where are you situated, the different locations? And okay, I have a lot of questions. How long does it take? What is the setup? Is there a class? Because the typical education setup is that there is class 1, 2, and then there are this number of people in a class, and they're all going through the same curriculum. Now, in this sort of setup, I imagine every single child has special needs, different from the other. How then do you undertake equipping them?
Okay, for us, what we normally do, we have a strong document that guides us in meeting the needs of each child differently in terms of education, also in the rehabilitation area. So in the area of education, we have individualized education plan. It's a document whereby once the student is admitted, we invite the parent, the teacher, the special education teacher, and also the other professionals who work with the child. So we sit down, come up with common goals and objectives in line with the child needs. So from the parent's perspective, from the classroom teacher, and from the other professional, if it's a physiotherapist, if it is an occupational therapist, if it is a speech therapist, we sit and come up with common objectives. So that's how we meet the needs of each child in the area of education. Also in the area of rehabilitation, it is still individualized program. Once we do an assessment, we prepare the plan individualized, because as we said, intellectual disability covers different conditions, and each child has different strengths, each child has different challenges, so we work as individual, we meet their needs individually.
Okay.
Yes.
How many children are you working with presently, and where are you situated?
Okay, our institution is situated in Ongatarungai, Kandisi, a place known as Kandisi. At the moment, we have 73 students with the different conditions.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
So the projects you're undertaking in Muranga, what's that about?
Okay, that is also another center. We have 2 centers here in Kenya. One is in Kafurugi, Muranga, with a population of at least 40 children. The models are still the same within the 4 areas. And then in Kandisi, like my colleague has said, we have another model with 73 children. And then in other areas where the congregation is present, for instance, we have the farming project in Masailand. There we do a community outreach program, rehabilitation campaigns, same as in Siaya. So really, the centers are in 2 locations here in Kenya. Yes, yes.
Okay. So what qualifications would a special education teacher require, Regina?
Okay, for a special education teacher, you have to undergo a training. Majority of our teachers have been trained in Kenya Institute of Special Education. You can have certificate, either diploma or a degree.
Okay.
Yes.
Father, are there ever children who are abandoned? Because I imagine there are those who, because children are a blessing regardless, but there are those who would consider them a burden. Children with intellectual disability.
Yeah.
So have you ever experienced children being abandoned to your care?
Yes, and that is how I've experienced this. And that is why when we were starting these community training centers, the 2 of them in Kafurugi and here in Kadizi, that is why we opted to have a day, so that we can have the children with us, and then after we get them from the parents, from the society, they come, we stay with them the whole day, maybe until 2 or 3. So that means we have a bus which goes, and or means of transport which goes collecting them from the society, from the families, We get the child from the parent, and then after, in the evening, we give them back the children. And this one has changed. Is changing the that mentality of abandoning the child, so that you see people, they are coming up now with the children to bring them, because they see that.
So they're picked by bus and they're dropped by bus.
Yeah, they are picked by bus, and then they are, And
no, interesting. I mean, I love that, because that is they are going to school just like
the other normal,
children.
like the other children. Yes.
All right. So, Regina, what are some, like, how long have you been doing this work?
I've been doing this work from 2017.
And
this will be my 6th year.
6th year. Yeah. And have you witnessed the transformation in the lives of these children with the proper instruction?
Yeah, sure. There's been a transformation in so many areas, apart from the students. Also, the way the community perceives now a disability, intellectual disability. For instance, I will give an example what you do at the institution to change the perception of the people from the community. We have a level of vocation and vocation training, whereby we give the skill in farming at the moment. So initially, it was difficult for people to believe that these children, they have the capacity to do something that will be more productive to the community. So once the institution introduced such, our students do the farming, produce the vegetables, and the vegetables are sold to the people around the community. So when they come to buy, it's a way of them, it's a way of creating awareness. So sometimes when we talk about it, it's difficult for some to get the concept. But once they come and see and also become beneficiaries of the products that these children are able to produce, it speaks for itself. So it has been a way, for me, it's transformation. People have been open, and they've really adjusted and embraced these children, and they've seen that, yeah, something good can also come from them. In terms of also in terms of the education and also the rehabilitation area, yes, there have been transformation. I've received students for speech therapy with no vocabularies at all, and after therapy session, a child is able to at least acquire like 30 vocabularies, 50. The child is able to introduce themselves. The child is able to communicate their needs. There has been transformation. In the area of physical therapy, we've received children with a delayed milestone in terms of mobility. And after therapy, the children are able to stand, they are able to walk. In the area of occupational therapy, the same. We've received children with sensory issue, hyperactivity, children with challenges when it comes to feeding. And yes, we've seen them acquire the skills, toileting skills, skills like activities of daily living like dressing, buttoning. For some it's basic, but for children with intellectual disability, it's not easy. It's something that they need to be taken through, and after a while they are able to acquire. So I've seen great transformation both from the parents also. Initially it was really a challenge for them to believe that, so once I bring a child, the child will be able to attain 1, 2, 3. But after some time, once they see, they believe. So there's been transformation all around. Yeah.
Okay. Richard, you work with children between the ages of what and what?
Between the ages of 3 and 18 years.
3 and 18 years.
Yes.
After that, they go, I mean, they graduate,
yes,
as we would say. So tell me, what agencies do you work with in terms of, because I imagine outreach is an important component of the work that you do.
Yes. Thank you. But just before that, maybe just to reinforce what my colleague has said about the transformation, and maybe it will latch on the second question, is that our institution has really, through the work, we've really been able to bring together very key stakeholders. You wouldn't imagine that the Secretary General of the Commonwealth has been to our institution and spent like 3 hours with the children. The Assistant Secretary General, the same. The United Nations Special Envoy on Disability, Professor Maria Soledad, has also been with us. We are working also with very closely with the local embassies here, the Irish Aid, Slovak Aid, the Embassy of Chile, whom together with the Strathmore University School of Law, we've done two amazing workshops on human rights, and we just recently trained 60 law enforcement officers from Kajiado County, just on matters to do with disability awareness and human rights and access to justice. We are also working very closely with the local neighboring schools, the local church, also the county government of Kajiado. We did a very good COVID emergency intervention where we brought over 400 children to receive emergency relief services so that they don't regress. So we have a very good network, both locally and internationally, people who really believe in the cause. And that's why we want now to really amplify it. And we are, again, thankful for this platform, because now this is a rallying call for now our local society to rally with our institution and other similar institutions to advocate and be the voice for children with intellectual disabilities.
Okay. Father, how important is creating awareness on this subject?
Is really is very important, because we still have children or youth who are still abandoned. The percentage that we have said we are working with is very small compared to the society, or compared to those children that we have in the society. So it is very important and of great need. We can create awareness to everyone. Create awareness that, as our founder was saying also, in every human person shines the image of God. So even in that small child who is mentally disabled, we see God in him or in her.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so how much of a need is there? How many children are we talking, if you have an idea, who suffer from intellectual disability and are not in care?
Wow, it's a very good question. Unfortunately, data about persons with disability is one of the most elusive issues or matters in our society and world over. But I think we are talking about 10% of the entire population, of our population, live with some sort of disability. I think out of these 10%, more or less 1%, between 1 and 2% are persons living with intellectual disabilities. I wouldn't be able really to tell from where I stand how many are not receiving the care, but I would just latch on what Father James talked about. When we started the institution, we did a lot of home visits and community outreach. And in just one activity in Ongata Rongai, we received 700 families. So you can imagine that's a radius of maybe less than 15 kilometers. We have 700 families with children with a disability. So now multiply that between all the counties. So we are really talking about tremendous numbers that are still hidden. So, but it's not really evident in concrete numbers how many they are.
So there's a need for that?
There is a need for that. There is a need for that.
Regina, when we were talking during the break, you were saying, you know, there's a lot of focus, like when we talk about persons with disability, we don't really think intellectual disability, like even in terms of assessing buildings and how the accommodation that is made for persons with disability. We think ramps, and that's the extent of it.
Yeah, it is very true. Physical disability is more evident. A person, if you meet a person on a wheelchair, if you meet a person on crutches, automatically it will click. It's a person with disability. But a person with intellectual disability, it's really difficult to detect. And yeah, it's a challenge for them to be accommodated with the community or the society. For instance, public transport, supermarkets, other even regular schools. So for them to access services like any other person, it's really difficult for them because it's something that you cannot see. It's not visible. It's not visible. The disability that is visible, it's easier to take caution, to take action. But with intellectual disability, it's really difficult. They're really exposed to so much challenges outside there. So that's why this opportunity I really appreciate, because having this airtime, there is hope. Being given this opportunity, we can say there is hope. So more awareness needs to be created out there.
Okay.
Because a person with autism spectrum disorder, not unless you're keen, it will be difficult for you to tell this person has a disability. Or maybe if a person is able to exhibit some type of characteristics, maybe that's when you'll be, no, this is not normal. But yeah, so more awareness needs to be created outside there.
All right.
Maybe I can give maybe an example. My colleague shared that initially we had a workshop for law enforcers. And that was really a big step for us as an institution. Because yes, the laws are there, the policies are there, but the people who are implementing, majority are not aware of these conditions. So how are they going to implement? It will be difficult. So by the institution training law enforcers, it was really the right direction, for them, so that they'll be able to detect, they'll be able to embrace them, they'll be able to treat them with dignity and in the right way like any other typical person.
All
So
right.
more awareness needs to be created in so many sectors. Yeah.
So for somebody watching, because I know you said the earlier, the better. The earlier the intervention, the better. So if somebody is watching and they suspect.
So it can be detected early, immediately after birth, and the child will be directed to receiving the right intervention in terms of therapy. If it is autism at the moment, at the age of 2 and a half, 2 years, 2.5, before the 3rd birthday, it is also possible to diagnose, and the right intervention will really assist in acquiring whatever in line with the needs that the child has. So through health professionals, yes.
Where would I go?
For instance, if it is autism, if you suspect your child has autism, you can take them to a pediatric neurologist. You can take them to a psychiatrist, a pediatric psychiatrist. Also, they can diagnose. If it is cerebral palsy, it can be diagnosed at the hospital immediately after birth. Once the child lacks oxygen, it affects the brain of the child, and the child will be diagnosed with cerebral palsy. So that one can be diagnosed there. Down syndrome, yes, at the hospital immediately after birth. A child who has Down syndrome, since it's genetic, there are some of the characteristics physical characteristics that will be detected immediately the child is born. So different professionals are in a position to detect and also diagnose and advise.
So with autism, there are certain triggers, maybe sensory cue. You talked about sensory sensitivities and such like. So the child, if you could give us an example, would exhibit what types of behavior?
So for autism, it's diverse. Each child exhibits different characteristics. Each autistic child is different from the other. One might have a hyperactive, might be hyperactive, the other one no. Another one might have sensory issues, the other one might not. Yeah, so it's different. It manifests itself different from each child.
All
yes,
right.
but in common, they will have challenges when it comes to social skills and communication. Yes.
All right. Richard, you say you rely heavily on donor funding, but you're looking to change that. You're looking inward now. Yes. So tell us, you have an event, I believe, on the 28th. Is that the first step in this process?
Yes. So after 8 years really working closely with the communities, with the people, we feel now is the right moment to really rally and fundraise for the safeguarding of children with intellectual disabilities. And again, for us, safeguarding is mainly in two aspects, two main areas. Number one is to create a safe environment for them, where there are no barriers, where there is safety, where they cannot be at risk considering the numbers that we are serving. And we want to answer this need by raising money, at least 6 million Kenya shillings, to put up a child-friendly perimeter fence around our facility.
This is Rongai?
This is in Ongata, Rongai. Then secondly, because the one, yes, we do have a porous, we have a perimeter fence, but it's quite porous. And we had an incident practically maybe 4 years ago. One of our students just sneaked through a part of the fence that was quite weak. And this actually has informed so many actions of disability awareness. This boy got lost for at least 10 days. And he was from Ongata Rongai. He was apprehended in Ruiru through a police patrol at night. And we really thank that police station and the police officer who was able to put him in custody, because that really made him safe. But then the policeman didn't know that the boy has is autistic or autism spectrum disorder. So we want to address this need by putting up a very good child-friendly and safe fence that is still open, visible, where the community can see what's happening. And then number two, and most importantly, is to expand our community outreach program, where we can go, our teams can organize camps, go to different counties, different wards, and just spread very practical, just like what you asked, how do we detect autism? We can share our experience, we can share what has worked, we can have our students who have graduated showing the communities that yes, we can be productive members of the society, we can be included. This is what we are trying to fundraise for on the 28th of September, and we are really calling upon now our Kenyan society to really rally behind us. We have that fundraising event, dinner at Serena Hotel, and the target is 12 million, and we are really hopeful and really optimistic that we'll be able to meet this target, because the future is with those, is when we really protect those who are most vulnerable. I think the answers to everything we are going through now maybe might come from there, when we really rally for those who can't talk for themselves, for those who can't advocate for themselves. I think we can get everything else we deserve after answering to their need.
Right. So, so where do they go to get information on this event?
Yes, they can go to our website. We'll share. We also have some booklets that are printed. We could leave some here. We can share more details, maybe even our fundraising coordinators' contacts, and our social media platform, or rather anyone watching can follow our pages on Don Orione Center, KE, that is on Facebook, or www.orionekenya.org. This is the website. And they can also, maybe we can share the contacts later and see how we can really amplify this through our platforms.
So lastly, Father, this is under the patronage of the Catholic Church in Kenya.
Yes.
All right. So I will conclude the conversation there, but Orione, the website?
Yes.
Orione?
www.orionekenya.org.
.org. Yes. Okay, and Orione Kenya on social media platforms.
Yes, Don Orione Kenya on social media platforms.
Sorry?
Don Orione KE.
Okay, Don Orione KE. Don't fall for a fake account.
Yes.
I want to thank this morning for joining me in studio Regina Midhamo. She is head teacher, speech and language therapist. We've had Father James Njoroge, and he is Deputy Director, Disability and Spirituality, and Richard Manyara, Projects Manager, Orione Community Training Center. Thank you for bringing some visibility to this subject. I don't think we have enough conversations on this. Like I said, we fear what we don't understand, so awareness is critical. I do agree with you on that. Children all around Kenya rely on water from unsafe sources. Colgate is asking you to help change this. Just a little water can make a big difference. For every pack of Colgate you buy exclusively at Naivas, you help build 30 water wells that will provide clean water for 120,000 Kenyans. Give a helping hand. Shop at your nearest Naivas store or online at I do beg your pardon, at naivas.co.ke. For more information about the campaign, go to Colgate Kenya's Facebook page or wellboring/colgate.com. Terms and conditions apply. That's it for your world.
World in association with Colgate.